Good afternoon. Good afternoon. Welcome to another live feed on Shop Mitch's YouTube channel. Shout out to the 400 subscribers that have subscribed. On the recent subscriber that made it 400 subscribers. That's a milestone. Appreciate it. But the journey continues. Things gotta be much better, obviously, with more subscribers to get to a chance of monetization and open up doors for more opportunities to do better things with this channel. So need like 100 more subscribers. So keep subscribing. Hit the like button. Check the channel out. Now today's live feed for this hour is going to be about the 1986 NBA draft. Next month on June 17th, 1986, which will be 2026 next month, will mark the 40th anniversary of one of the more star-crossed cursed drafts ever. Why is that? Well, I explain later on. But I'm gonna give you the backdrop of this draft. This draft was a draft that should have had a lot of great players, especially that was drafted in the first round. Still being great players due to deaths, drug related issues and stuff like that that led to the demise of this draft not being what it should have been. It wasn't just the drug thing that was part of it, but guys had so much potential, end up not even playing longer enough in the league. So we're gonna go over that. Also, we're gonna talk about the impact of players that were drafted in the second round that had more impact than the first round selections. That makes the draft special when you had 7 rounds during that year. It was on TBS Superstation. It was at the Felt Forum, Madison Square Garden in New York. Brad Daugherty, Cleveland Cavaliers. There was no one picking the draft. There was only 3 Hall of Famers that was in this draft. In retrospect, 40 years later, 3 Hall of Famers. We're gonna break that down. See the Hall of Famers that was in this draft class were centers Arvydas Sabonis, power forward Dennis Rodman, and shooting guard Drazen Petrovic. So you look at that in retrospect, you would think other players that were drafted ahead of these guys would be in the Hall of Fame themselves. Hit the like button or subscribe to the channel. If you're new to the channel, hit the like button, subscribe. As you see in the thumbnail, I'm talking about the 1986 NBA draft. Was it star-crossed or cursed? So you had 3 Hall of Famers: Arvydas Sabonis, Dennis Rodman, and Drazen Petrovic. Who would have thought 40 years later that those would be the only Hall of Famers coming out of this draft class? So you had so many great players. We're going to start with Brad Daugherty. He was the first selection in the draft, but he's not in the Hall of Fame. Look at Brad Daugherty. He was known as the Big Train El Gato Grande, 7-footer, coming out of North Carolina. Went to Cleveland. He's a 5-time All-Star, 13 All-NBA, 1992 All-Rookie Team 87. His jersey retired, rightfully so. But when you look at his NBA career stats, he averaged 19 points a game, 9.5 rebounds a game, 3.7 assists a game. But he's not in the Hall of Fame. He had a pretty good career. He's a pretty good player. I remember Brad Daugherty in my lifetime. He was playing with those great, talented Cleveland Cavalier teams, but he was never a Hall of Famer. Now his career was cut short at the age of 28. He didn't play that long. I think that's probably the reason why he didn't last as long as he did in the league. From 1986 to 1994, he only played 9 seasons. In that situation, let me see. He had the back issues that he retired at age 28, so he left the game. Excuse me. He retired in 1997. No, his jersey was retired in 1987. Well, he retired it after the 1995-96 season. 2 seasons of inactivity. But he had the back problems. That's the thing about Brad Daugherty. He didn't play that long in the league. He had back troubles. So he's not Hall of Famer, but he should have been. Could have been. So back to this draft. When you look at him, then you have Len Bias. Now, here's a guy that could have been the rival to Michael Jordan. Len Bias. Coming out of Maryland. All-American, chiseled, can dunk, very athletic. He was inducted to the College Basketball Hall of Fame in 2021. But he died of a cocaine overdose. He was drafted by the Boston Celtics. But at the same time, won a championship in '86. So it's like the rich getting richer. Once you get a guy like Len Bias, he's going to be like the heir apparent to Larry Bird. He was at the top of his game at that time in '86 because the Celtics won the championship. He won his third straight, MVP. But as the years goes on, the Celtics going to wear out. Obviously, they eventually do that because, like a death, the minutes being played, it would take its toll on the health of Bird with his back and stuff like that. So it's like what could have been. I'm saying if he didn't die, I'm saying he would have been one of the all-time greats of all time. He would have been a rival to Michael Jordan. No question. That was a big tragedy in that draft class. It's the death of Len Bias. Then you had like Chris Washburn. He was drafted, 3rd overall pick out of Golden State. Played from 1986 to 1994, but he was not a big-time player. Did not do so well. He could have been like a Shaquille O'Neal. He didn't do so well. He was the 3rd pick in the draft. Now, he dealt with drug issues also during that time, so he didn't have a great career as was anticipated. You got guys like Roy Tarpley, recently passed in 2015. He was only 50 years old. From New York City, he dealt with a lot of alcohol and drug abuse during his career. He played in Europe. He got to a great start. He was 6th man of the year in 1988. Played on those very talented, Dallas Mavericks teams. He was the 7th overall pick in the 1st round. But the drugs, man, the alcohol, man, that kept him from being one of the all-time greats. He was on his way to prosper. He only averaged 12.6 points a game. So that's the thing, man. That situation just hurt him, his career. And those Dallas Mavericks team was great, man. You had teams like players like Mark Aguirre and Donald Blackman, Derek Harper, James Downson, Sam Perkins. And this guy come off the bench for the Mavericks. They're on their way. Even further, but he was banned from the league for life for drug use policies in 1991. You know what I'm saying? So he could have been an all-time great player. He was drafted very high coming out of Michigan. Roy Tarpley. New York City. That's where his birthplace. I guess he relocated to Michigan or something like that. Let's see. And either way, like I said, no. He could have been a great player. William Bedford. He was drafted 6th overall pick in the 1st round. These guys are top 10 picks. Coming out of Memphis, Memphis State at the time. Now known as Memphis. And he didn't do so well because drugs. He only averaged 4.1 points a game, 2.4 rebounds a game during his career. So you look at William Bedford, he's another guy that could have been a big-time player because he was drafted very high, but it was more about drugs. That's the thing about this draft. I'm gonna go over all the players that were drafted in '86. Chuck Person was the 4th overall pick. Now Chuck Person is a pretty good player. Chuck Person was a guy known as the rifleman. He could shoot the 3, won Rookie of the Year in '87. He could shoot the 3. I remember him with the Pacers before. Reggie Miller took over and being like that player that he would become. You had to deal with Chuck Person, and Chuck Person can shoot. You know what I'm saying? Not a great player. He averaged 14.7 points a game, 5 rebounds a game, 2.8 assists. But when you look at Chuck Person, man, he could play. As the rifleman, because he could shoot that three. He's definitely a great 3-point shooter. He definitely had a best career year. You can make a case was in 1988. He averaged 21.6 points a game. But he's the 4th overall pick for the Indiana Pacers. So this is before Reggie. This guy was doing his thing. He had that brief on-court rivalry with Larry Bird for the Boston Celtics. They were talking trash and all that stuff. He played great in that series. He averaged 26 points a game against the Boston Celtics, but they lost. Had a pretty good career, pretty good. Not a great career though. Kenny Walker, the Knicks. He was drafted real high. He was the 5th overall pick for the Knicks. The only thing that's great about Kenny Walker is that he could dunk. He's a great dunker. He won a slam dunk contest and that was it. He had 7 points a game, 4 points a game. He was not a big time player. Played overseas, looks like, and played with the Washington Bullets in the early mid-90s, but he was not where he's supposed to be. When you drafted 5th overall, he's supposed to be a great player. He was not a great player. No. Only thing he could do was dunk, Kenny Walker. That's it. It was known as Skywalker. For the slam dunk contest that he utilized, that opportunity at the slam dunk contest in '89, Skywalker. That's it. That's all I gotta say about that. William Burford talk about that. We talk about Roy Tarpley. Then you got Ron Harper. It's another guy that could have been a great player. The problem with him is that he had injuries with his knees. They went 3 championships. It was really good, man. Big time player out of coming to the Cleveland Cavaliers that year, man. Miami, Ohio. So he was like a local product. So Cleveland knew what they were doing drafting him. So you think about it, they got Brad Daugherty, Cleveland Cavaliers, and they got Ron Harper. He only averaged 13.8 points a game, 4.3 rebounds a game, 3.9 assists a game. So he was not the player that he should have been. I think his knees kind of hurt him. Because he was pretty good, man. He broke for 30 points in his 6th game in his career against Sacramento Kings. At 34 points. Scored 40 points against the Celtics in '87, February 4th. Against the Knicks, he had 25 points, 16 rebounds, 4 assists, 5 steals. So this guy was doing it. But he just started dealing with the injuries, man. The injuries kind of hurt him. That kept him from being one of the all-time greats. He could have been a great player. I think the injuries were them. He won 3 championships with Chicago. I think that right knee injury, that hurt him. That took away what he could have been. And since he could have been... Now, he did do great in 1989-90 season. He averaged 22.8 points per game that year. But I think that knee injury, I think that hurt him. Limited him to being where he could have been. He put up some good numbers, but that's what I think. I think that would have made him great. If he didn't have that knee injury. It would have been great. See, Brad Sellers, Ohio State. Not a big-time player, Didn't do that much. At the next level. Much of a journeyman, basically that. And then you got Johnny Dawkins. He was drafted. He could have been a good player, but things didn't pan out. Played for a long time, but didn't pan out as he should, unfortunately. And then you got John Sally. John Sally definitely won a lot of championships with the Pistons and the Bulls. He played on a lot of winning teams. 4-time champion again. Could have been a better player than he was, but did play on winning teams. Then you got John Williams. John Williams played from LSU, power forward. He averaged 10.1 points a game. But the biggest disappointment, I think, in this draft, one of the biggest ones, got put there in the top 5 was Pearl Washington. I think Pearl Washington from Syracuse is what hurt. The disappointment about him is that he only lasted 3 seasons in the NBA. He could, did better than what he did, because he's a great showman, great player coming out of University of Syracuse, and he could have had a better career, but he didn't last that long in the league, as he should. Walter Berry was drafted. Another player that could have been a great player, Walter Berry, St. John's. He was just a journey. He played on a lot of teams, not that much of a factor at the NBA level. Not a great career for every reason. Walter Berry. So he was drafted, and then you had Dell Curry, who was the father of Steph Curry, the greatest shooter ever. To make a case on Steph Curry. His father was drafted, great shooter, 3-point shooter. Not a Hall of Fame, but he could definitely shoot the basketball, 160 man a year, 1994. His jersey retired when he was with Charlotte. So yeah, he could definitely shoot the basketball. Reese Martin, I don't know about him, not familiar with him. Howard Presley, Mark Allery, Billy Thompson, Buck Johnson, Anthony Jones, Scott Skiles. No, he was the guy that had 30 assists, set the record. I think that's still a record to this day. Scott Skiles, 30 assists. That was in the 1990-1991 season. Not a great player, but that's definitely a huge accomplishment. That even Magic Johnson never did that. Had that many assists in the game, 30 assists in one game. That's still the record. 30 assists in a basketball game. Okay, so you had that, Ken Barlow, then Arvydas Sabonis, obviously, who thought he would be, a Hall of Fame. He was a great big man coming out of the Soviet Union. Arvydas Sabonis. Things also got to do with what he did in overseas, why he's in the Hall of Fame. He was a great international player. Then Mark Price. Mark Price was a big time. Underrated, but he did his thing, Mark Price. Actually, he was drafted by the Dallas Mavericks. But he played, made success with Cleveland, man. Those Cleveland teams definitely are low. He's a 4-time All-Star, All-NBA first team, 93, 3-time All-NBA third team, won the 3-point contest, or twice, jersey retired. So that's a big time. He's a big time player, underrated. Red Drawing, then Dennis Rodman, obviously the Worm, stuff that he was doing. He was born in Trenton, New Jersey. Dennis Rodman was born in Trenton, New Jersey. Obviously did his thing with Detroit. Great rebounder, great defensive player. Definitely made it happen, man, as a rebounding forward, man. Like, for his size, he was so great at being a great defender. His rebounding and defensive abilities definitely was a glue to those Pistons teams and the Bulls teams, and all the success that he had winning championships with them. Like stuff. Then you go to the second round. These are second round guys right here. Mark Price was drafted in the second round. Dennis Rodman, Johnny Newman, Nate McMillan, pretty good player. Kevin Duckworth. Interesting draft. Jeff Hornacek had a pretty good career. He played with the Phoenix Suns. Good shooting guard. He could hit that outside perimeter shot. Average 14.5 points a game. 4.9 assists a game. Pretty good career. Not a great player, but he could definitely make it happen. He could definitely have that. He was that third option when he was with the Phoenix Suns behind Kevin Johnson and Tom Chambers. But he played with the Utah teams that was in the NBA Finals. Those couple of times, but they lost to the Bulls. Obviously, Joshua Petrovic. Remember him, man, what he did with the Nets, man. Just fortunately died, man, way too soon at age 28. Played with the Portland Trailblazers, but the things that he did overseas, I think that's what made him a Hall of Famer. But he did pretty good with the Jet when he was with the Nets. When he came to the Nets, man, he was the All NBA third team, All NBA. Joshua Petrovic. So this guy definitely doing his thing. He averaged 15.4 points per game in the NBA. So he's in the Hall of Fame. Let's see who else stands out in this draft. Yeah, this draft was star-crossed, man, because of the abilities, and Jay Bilas got drafted. The abilities that these guys had could have been Hall of Famers, but you only had 3 Hall of Famers come out of this draft. You wouldn't think that would be Arvydas Sabonis, Dennis Rodman, or Joshua Petrovic. You'd think it would be Pearl Washington, Len Bias if he didn't die of that drug overdose, or Brad Daugherty. You know what I'm saying? There's a lot of great players coming out of college that was, drafted that could have been greater than they really was. But it didn't pan out to be that way. Chris Washburn, he could have been Shaquille O'Neal. But it's all about the later draft picks that came later, like Del Curry, great three-point shooter. Scott Skiles, who set the NBA record to this day, 30 assists in the game. Arvydas Sabonis, even though he didn't play to the NBA till 1995, he's in the Hall of Fame. Dennis Rodman, Mark Price. So this draft is known for guys who got caught up in drugs. Chris Washburns of the world, Roy Tarpley, obviously, Len Bias. So that is a star-crossed draft. And obviously the tragedy of Len Bias, dying of a drug overdose. So this draft stands out because of that, and also because of how deep the second round was in that situation at that time. It could be one of the best ever because you had, Curry, Price, and Rodman being drafted. So that's it, man. That's it for a look at this draft. It definitely was a cursed draft, a star-crossed draft, because you had so many capable, talented players that could have been great, did not live up to the hype because of off the field, off the court. And guys, like I said, Pearl Washington, man, he could have been a great, great player, but he didn't last in the league for various reasons. I think because he wasn't in shape, he couldn't keep up with the 82-game schedule. So there was a lot going on at that time of why he did not pan out, playing only 3 seasons, drafted by the New Jersey Nets. So that's the thing, man, about him. Pearl Washington, he should have been one of the all-time greats with shake and bake type of style of basketball play. So there's a lot of reasons why he didn't last in the league. So that's basically it, man. They were supposed to do with this 1986 retrospective 40 years ago, next month, June 17th. I wanted to do something on that. So what happened to him, man, with Pearl Washington, man, he should have been one of the all-time greats. Why he didn't make it, didn't play well in the league, in the NBA. So, that's it. Subscribe to the channel. Hit the like button. Hopefully you tune into it later. But Pearl Washington, the reason why he didn't make it, despite coming out of that draft in '86, because his playground style game, characterized by a slower pace and unique low to the ground, bottom heavy movement, it did not translate to a more physical and faster NBA. So he wasn't able to adjust. He struggled to adjust. He lacked elite speed for the pro game, for the professional NBA game. Also, he later admitted that he lacked the hunger to work as hard. That was a key change from college to the NBA. So that's on him. That was self-inflicted for Pearl Washington. Then says that his game was built on creating, but he struggled to deal with the 82 game pace compared to college. And then also his bottom-heavy physique and lack of top-tier speed that was manageable in college, but made him less effective against NBA defenders. And then the lack of dedication and drive. He has so much greatness and so much talent at the level of college basketball, but it didn't translate into the NBA level because he admitted that he reached the next level. When he reached it, he didn't have the love for the game enough to work as hard as necessary. And health issues, how he had a tumor on his front of his brain and stuff like that. But before that, he didn't have that drive. So if he would have had that drive like a Michael Jordan, I mean, he would have been one of all-time point guards to play in NBA. That's what makes this tragic situation with this draft so star-crossed, as I talk about it in my analysis. So that's it, man. Tonight I'll be doing my last live stream at 9 o'clock. I'll be replaying one of the best interviews that I had when I was a host on the Rashad Mitchell show. John Hanna, Pro Football Hall of Famer, offensive lineman. He was on the cover of Sports Illustrated. You'll see in the thumbnail, 9 o'clock p.m. I replayed that interview that I did with him. It was like a few years back. And hopefully you enjoy it. Hit the like button, support the channel. That's it. I look at my retrospective 40 years later about the 1986 NBA draft. Was it cursed? Why was it cursed? And star-crossed. Stuff like that. Support the channel. The channel is growing. Keep on supporting. Best yet to come. Until then, talk to you tonight. I ain't gonna talk to you now. I'm just gonna play the interview on its own and let it speak for itself at 9 o'clock. Until then, 9 o'clock. Be ready for the John Hanna interview. Pro Football Hall of Famer. Interview that I did back in, I think, 2022. It was a few years back, though. Early part of the decade. So, until then, 9 o'clock p.m. Be ready for 9 o'clock.